She always came here. Even if the sun burned her, the cold bit her skin, or the thunder roared in grey gloomy sky, she refused to let anything stop her. On the 15th of every month, she walked 2 miles from her village to the bus stop, carrying a hope along. The hope to see him again. The hope that he would return this time. She had been doing this for almost 7 years, arriving at the bus stop an hour earlier and waiting for the bus and praying that in the troop of soldiers returning to their homes, he would also be the one. As the moments ticked by, the place got crowded. People from the surrounding villages arrived to receive their loved ones. Her ears perked up as a faint honk blared from a distance. Before her mind could catch up, she scrambled up to her feet. A mix of nervousness and anticipation fluttered in her stomach as her eyes caught the sight of the bus. She clutched her hand on her heart above the beat's soul as the bus pulled up in front of her. The crowd moved towards the bus and she was pushed back. She struggled among the people crushing her, but her eyes remained fixed on the door as the soldiers stepped out one by one. Let me see. She winced when someone stepped on her foot. She stepped back in pain. She sat on the bench and rubbed her foot. The people went feral. Among them, one young couple caught her attention. The girl was crying, holding on to him, and the soldier was wiping her tears very gently. Her lips twitched as a memory flooded her in her mind. She waited patiently for the bus to arrive, though every passing moment was testing her patience. He was returning after 2 whole years, her lover, Jungkook. Her heart leapt in joy when the bus pulled up. The crowd surrounded the bus immediately, but she remained at the very back, away from the hustle and bustle. She counted as the soldiers stepped out. After 8 of them got out, he arrived at the door, his eyes already skimming through the crowd to look for her. Her heart skipped a beat when their eyes met. His lips stretched in a wide grin. With a quick, desperate move, he broke through the crowd to reach her, his military black bag slung over his shoulder. She could only stare as he stood in front of her. Her throat constricted and a pressure slowly built behind her eyes. It felt like a dream. 2 years had passed since she last saw him in person. Seeing him again made her realize that she had longed for him more than she accepted. Will you not say anything? Let me just. Her words died down in her throat as a sob racked through her chest. He shrugged off the strap of his bag. It hit the ground with a soft thud. Taking a step forward, he embraced her gently. She broke down completely in his arms, thick tears rolling down her cheeks. I have missed you. I have missed you so much. She clutched his uniform and buried her face in his chest. She had missed this, missed being in his arms, missed the kisses he peppered on her head. I have missed you too, my darling, he whispered, pressing yet another kiss on top of her head. He pulled back from the hug and cupped her face, gently wiping off her tears with his thumb. Now stop crying and give me a big smile. I've been yearning to see you smile for the last 2 years. Her lips parted on instinct and widened in a huge smile. He returned it with his own. Her eyes fluttered shut when he leaned in to press a chapstick kiss on her forehead. When her eyes opened, she noticed the badge on his chest. Her smile disappeared, replaced by a shocked expression. Captain Jeon, you have become a captain. I promised you, didn't I, that I would return as a captain? And Captain Jeon never breaks his promise, he said, bumping his fist on his chest proudly. She chuckled, staring at the badge. Pride shone in her eyes as she ran a finger on the intricate designation. I'm so proud of you. You have conquered every dream. Not every dream. He tucked a finger under her chin and made her look up. His eyes softened when they met hers. I'm yet to fulfill my most beautiful dream. He jutted his chin towards her. Becoming a husband is still at the top of my list. I have returned with the purpose to conquer it. Her cheeks flamed red as she lowered her gaze in shyness. He smiled at her reaction. I'm going to meet your father and ask for your hand for marriage. I'm sure he won't deny after knowing I have become a captain now. Tears stung her eyes again with the overwhelming rush of feelings. His love was too much, yet never enough. If you keep behaving like the little lion, I might have to change my mind. She let out a whine and nuzzled against his chest. I've missed you so much that it feels like a dream. In the past 2 years, there wasn't a single moment when I wasn't thinking about you. Sometimes it became so unbearable that I ended up crying. I read your letters again and again, countless times, every day until the next one arrived. I spent every day waiting for your arrival, and now that you are here in front of me, I'm scared you would have to leave again. I love you, Jungkook. I love you so much it hurts. He wrapped his arms around her tightly as silent tears rolled down her cheeks. His heart squeezed painfully. I love you too, sweetheart, more than anything. He rubbed a hand on her back as he let out her pain, her longing, her happiness, everything through her tears. If you stop crying, I have a present for you. She wiped her tears immediately and parted from the hug. You bought me a present? Yes, just give me a moment. He unzipped his bag and rummaged through it. He pulled out a paper bag. She stared at him in anticipation as he forwarded the bag towards her. What is it? Open it and see it yourself. She peeked inside the bag. A gasp escaped her lips when she took out the fabric. It was a gorgeous floor-length blue dress. A beige shawl was also there along with it. It's gorgeous, she whispered, awestruck by the softness and beauty of the fabric. Next time when I'm gone and you miss me, wear this dress and wrap this shawl tightly around you. Close your eyes and you would feel me holding you. The blaring horn brought her out of her reverie. She flinched, hands instinctively tightening on the fabric of beige shawl. Every soldier has gotten off. The bus was now empty. The engine roared to life as the driver prepared to drive away. Wait! The bus driver looked down from the window. His eyes softened into something close to pity. He knew her as the bus stop lady. For the last 7 years, he had been watching her waiting at the bus stop every month. She always wore a blue dress. It looked shiny despite being worn so many times, though the color had started fading. On the other hand, the shawl looked worn out. It appeared the clothes had their own tale to tell. Over the years, some things had changed quietly. Her eyes had become dull and sunken. Her cheeks had lost their color. She had lost weight. A heavy exhaustion loomed on her expression. But what hadn't changed was her hope in her eyes. It was as fierce as before, as if life had taken so much from her and she was holding on to what little had left. My husband? She asked, hoping for a response she had been yearning to hear for years. However, when the driver shook his head, her face fell. Sadness gripped her heart. She had to wait for a month again. As the bus drove away, she watched the people returning home with their military men. A gloominess sheared a bitter path into her chest. How long, Jungkook? How long would you take to return? How long would I have to wait? She held the two ends of the shawl tightly around herself and closed her eyes. She waited. She waited for a long time but couldn't feel the warmth she had been longing for. Everything was cold, frigid as his absence. It doesn't feel the same, Jungkook. I don't want to imagine you holding me. I want you to hold me. It's been a long time. Please come back. Please end my suffering and hold me. Hold me before I lose myself completely. She returned on the same path through the woods with a heavy heart. The air was crisp and foggy. Birds chirped. Squirrels climbed trees. A river ran through the wood. She walked along the bank of the river and soon reached the outskirts of the village. Like a routine she had been following, she turned on another path which took her away towards a building, the police station. It was newly built with modern architecture that stood unique among the few ancient houses around it. It was built around 8 years ago because of Jungkook's consistent efforts. The villagers couldn't stop praising him after this. She walked inside, catching eyes. They looked like they had been waiting for her to show up, yet expected to never see her again. A policeman walked towards her. It was a young man with gentle smile. Ryan recognized him immediately. Are you here to see Chief again? Ryan nodded in response. A sad smile crept on the young man's lips. He is in a meeting with some officials. I'll wait, she replied and sat down on a wooden bench. The man glanced at her for a long moment before he turned and walked away. People moved around her, going about their routine, but she remained seated, doing what she had learned to do over years. Waiting. It felt like an eternity had passed, yet nothing had changed. The time kept ticking, but her life had stopped moving 7 years ago. All she could do was wait for it to move again. After what seemed like 2 hours had passed, the policeman walked towards her. The meeting is over. You can meet him now. She nodded and walked towards the head officer's cabin. The chief sat behind his desk. The same round glasses with gold rim were perched on his nose. A few hair had turned grey than the last time she saw him. He observed her quietly as she slowly walked towards his desk and occupied a chair across from him. Did you find anything about my husband? She asked the same questions she had been asking every month, but she expected she wouldn't receive the same response. The chief sighed in exhaustion. He removed his glasses and placed them on his desk carefully. We wrote countless letters to the military officials. They refused to say anything except that they don't know anything. The flicker of hope died in her heart. The same response again. But how could they not know anything about him? They would have sent him somewhere. They have to find him and bring him back from there. The chief shook his head, a look of sympathy crossing his face. Nobody knows where he has gone. How is that possible? He left because they called him. He left just after her wedding day because they needed him, and now they say they have no idea where he is. God awful. She shook her head sadly, eyes going blank in gloominess. It was easier to cope with something known. How would she deal with the fact that her husband had gone missing? Maybe he had found someone else. You might be a man of supreme rank, but I don't allow you to talk ill of my husband. She cut him off sharply. What my husband and I have isn't a fleeting attraction. We have loved each other from the day we started understanding life. He wouldn't look at another woman, let alone started a new life with her. Found someone else, you say? She smiled sadly. The chief was taken aback by her outburst. She had always been polite, fragile woman surviving with the grief of her missing husband. Her outburst shocked him. I'll take my leave, she whispered with a heavy heart and stood up, but as she turned, his words stopped her in her tracks. Then maybe he is dead. Her heart sank, just the thoughts shuddered her from inside. She turned slowly to face him. Then give me his dead body. The old man was stunned. He had never received such cold response for such dreadful assumption. Give me any proof of his death, and I'll accept he had died. Because unless there is not proof of his death, he is very much alive. Aren't 7 years enough proof? When people don't return for that long, either they have started life somewhere else, or their life has ended. Or maybe they are stuck somewhere far, waiting to be found. They're waiting for their loved one to wait for their return, not consider them dead. Her voice was low, polite, but her words were sharp. She was furious. Couldn't bear him spewing nonsense about her husband. So you plan to wait your whole life, like you have been doing for 7 years? She looked down with a sad smile, but when she looked up to meet his gaze, there was a fierceness in her eyes, the kind of fierceness he had once seen in Captain John's eyes. Even if 7 eternities pass, I will wait for him, because he promised me he'd come back. And Captain John never breaks his promise. She tipped her head high and turned to walk towards the door. She paused at the doorway and looked at him over her shoulder. I hope I never see you again. She said the same thing she had been saying every month. With that, she opened the door and walked out. When she reached the familiar street of her village, she felt many eyes on herself. Some looked at her with pity, thinking her husband had abandoned her. Some took her as a mourning widow, thinking he had died. Some thought she had lost her senses and called her the crazy woman. She ignored their stares and walked straight to her home, the home Jungkook had built for her. 7 years ago, when he returned as Captain John, he directly went to her father and asked for his permission to marry her. Once he agreed, Jungkook not only bought the land the next day, but built a house for her with her preferences within a month. Once she reached home, her neighbor, an old woman, was waiting outside. She gave her a warm, wrinkled smile. Did he come back? Vine shook her head and sat beside her on the steps outside the house. Oh, my poor child, don't be sad. He'll come next time. He must have a lot of responsibilities on his shoulders as a captain. He will come back soon. Vine heaved a sigh and placed her head on the old woman's lap. She was the only one she talked to, the only one who didn't look at her with pity. He said I should accept he might have died. She whispered and swallowed a bitter lump. The word felt heavy on her tongue. The old woman gasped. She ran a gentle hand through her hair. People die when we stop keeping them alive, when we stop thinking about them, stop talking about them. Eventually, they vanish. Don't be disheartened about what others say. Keep him in your memories. Keep hoping for his return. Keep him alive, my child. Maybe he is also thinking about you somewhere. Maybe he is yearning for you. My heart says he'll come back soon. Vine straightened up with a smile. The old woman smiled back and patted her head. She left after some time, and Vine's heart didn't feel as heavy as before. A new hope had bloomed deep within. That night, she took out a small tin box from her trunk. She opened it and a few envelopes fell from it. They were letters, his letters. She grabbed the one she read every night, the last letter he wrote to her, the letter she received after 1 month of its departure. She took out the letter. The once white paper had become pale yellow. Its corners were torn. The ink was fading, but the feelings were as strong as before. Her throat constricted as she read the first sentence. My darling wife. I debated a lot while writing this letter. I've always addressed you as my beautiful love, but now that we are married, how should I address you? I debated and debated, wrote many letters, torn many. That's the reason for my delay in writing to you. I hope you would forgive me, my darling. They sent me to a very cold place. My hands are numb as I write to you. I'm very cold, but nothing compares to the coldness that has gripped my heart. I think about you every moment. I wish to be in your arms because when I'm close to you, nothing feels cold. Not the air, not my heart. Sometimes when the nights freeze me and I can't sleep, I stare at your picture in my wallet. It doesn't help me sleep, but it sure helps me to push through every difficulty and make me feel warm when everything else feels cold, though it gains me few teasing stares and playful remarks from my fellow soldiers. They call me the whipped captain. Only if they know what you make me feel, they would know why I long for you when I am away and why I long to stay longer when I am with you. I just hope, my darling, you are not upset with me for leaving you just after our wedding day. I'm a soldier, and when duty calls, a soldier has to leave everything behind. But I promise you, my love, I'll make it up to you. I'll come soon. I'll return home as soon as possible. And then I'll take you to the city. I'll take you to see a live orchestra perform. There are places in the city where you can eat food from different countries. I'll take you there, I promise you. And Captain John never breaks his promise. She blinked, fighting against the tears that as she neatly folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. She placed it back in the tin box along with other letters. Her eyes fell on his shirt, which she always kept on her bed. Grabbing it, she brought it near her nose to smell it. She inhaled deeply, once, twice, again and again. She couldn't smell him anymore. His scent had started fading. It felt like he was slipping right through her hands. Her eyes fell on the bed. Slowly, she feathered her fingers on his side of the bed. It was cold, empty in a way that made her heart clench. She raked her eyes around. Everything seemed like a void, an empty space which seemed to be closing in on her. Come back, Jungkook. I'm scared. Everything is fading. You are fading. The next day, she was at her flower shop when the bell of the door chimed, insinuating someone's arrival. A man in military uniform walked in, a bag slung over his shoulder. He looked around at the countless flowers while she approached him with a polite smile. May I help you, gentleman? Startled, the soldier looked at her and smiled sheepishly. I want to buy some flowers for my wife. His response made her sad and happy at the same time. She nodded and started pointing at different flowers, explaining the meaning behind them. I'm returning home after 2 years. I want it to be something special. Please help me out, madam. She froze in a spot. A lump formed in her throat as a distant, blurry memory flashed before her eyes. There was something on her window, a knock that woke her up, and a shadow looming behind the curtains that made her slip in the corner and curl into a ball. Open the window, my darling, it's me. Jungkook, she trailed off and rushed to open the window. She gasped in horror, watching him hang from the window sill. What are you doing here at this hour? If my father finds out you're doomed, he'll chase you through the woods with his rifle. God awful, I'm juggling between life and death, and all you could care about is your father chasing me? She sighed in exasperation and helped him climb through the window and into her room. What do you think you were doing, hanging on my window as if you weren't afraid of falling down and breaking your bones? She whispered, yelled at him. What if you had fallen? You might have survived with a few broken bones with the fall, but my father would have broken the rest. She scolded while he just stared at her with a grin. I brought you flowers. He forwarded a bunch of white daisies towards her. She looked at the flowers and then at him, her frown softening into a smile. You are a buffoonish man, she chuckled and took the flowers. She sat beside him, back against the wall. He stared at her with a soft smile as she sniffed the flowers. May I know the reason for your untimely visit? She craned her neck, searching for his eyes, and found him already staring at her. I missed you, he whispered in a low, husky tone that made her skip a beat. But we met in the evening. I missed you in the 3 hours when you weren't with me, he replied instantly. Red hue spread on her cheeks as she looked away from his intense gaze. His eyes, dark and full of love, sent a shiver down her spine. I came to see you, my darling. I leave for the military after 2 days. I want to spend as much time as possible. Her eyes softened. A flutter of sadness twisted in her heart. He was leaving soon. She wouldn't be able to meet him every day. In fact, she didn't know when she will be able to see him again. Let's make it memorable. Let's make the best out of them. He grinned and stood up, extending his hand towards her. Let's go, my love. But where? I can't, Jungkook, if my father finds out. A gasp escaped her lips when he grabbed her hand and yanked her up. Her front collided with his, hands gripping his shoulders for support. Just give me your entire attention tonight. Don't think about anyone but us, please, my love. Lost in his gaze and his velvety smooth voice, she slowly nodded. He grabbed her hand and pulled her towards the window. Wait, give me a moment. She ran towards her trunk and took out a red pouch. He refrained himself from asking anything as she walked back to him. They snuck out from the window, traversed through the meadows, and reached the woods. A cold breeze brushed past them as they trailed lazily through a series of tall trees. The canopy was dense, allowing very little moonlight to pass through. It was dark. Jungkook clasped her hands softly, navigating through the darkness with ease, while she followed him silently, staring into the darkness with wide eyes. Once they passed the tall trees, the river narrowed into a stream. Jungkook jumped over it while Vayan remained still on the other side. Come on, sweetheart, jump. She shook her head, horror washing over her face. My dressing gown is long, I'll fall. Without waiting for another moment, he lifted his leg and placed it on her side so that his legs were on either side of the stream. Come, I won't let you fall. With a swift, practiced move, he grabbed her by her waist, lifted her off the ground, and placed her on the other side of the stream. He didn't remove his hands from her waist as he slowly pulled his leg back and stood in front of her. I told you I won't let you fall. I will always be there to hold you, always. He pressed a kiss on her forehead and rested his forehead against hers. She closed her eyes, savoring his closeness as much as she could, knowing he would leave soon. Come, let's sit over there. He grabbed her wrist and dragged her towards a tree. He sat under it with his back against the trunk and pulled her to sit between his legs, her back against his chest. Silence fell over. Neither of them knew how to accept that they would separate in 2 days. Should they grieve over the separation or make the best of whatever little time they had to get left together? I brought you something, she spoke after a long moment of painful silence. What? She parted from him and turned to sit face to face with him. Taking the red pouch from her waistband, she forwarded it towards him. I bought you a present. A wave of excitement rushed through him. He turned the pouch upside down. A watch fell from it onto his lap, silver case with brown leather strap. It's beautiful. You have bought it. It is only fair if you make me wear it. She took the watch from him and hooked it around his wrist. The silver case and crystal lens illuminated under the moonlight. I'm never taking this off. I'll wear it till my last breath. He looked at her with a grateful smile as if she were everything he had ever wanted in his life. Thank you so much, my love. She tried to smile but failed badly. It was hard to pretend to be happy when she was breaking inside. His departure was the only thing swirling in her mind. I love you, Jungkook. I love you too, sweetheart. She cupped his face in her trembling hands, a shaky breath escaping her lips. She stared at him as if she wanted to carve his face on her soul. A tear left from her eyes. I'll miss you. He leaned against her touch, his own eyes turning moist. Oh, how cruel destiny was with him. Take care of yourself. Have your meals on time. Don't be hard on yourself. Write to me and her voice broke in the end. He let out a shuddered breath, cupped her face, and placed his lips on hers. A tear slipped from the corner of his eye and disappeared in the space between them. She kissed him back, her own tears flowing non-stop. When they pulled back, there was pain in their expressions, an ache so deep it shone in their gazes. I'll come back soon, and I'll return as a captain, and I'll marry you. I'll build you a house and flower shop you have always dreamed of. We'll live, we'll love, we'll create a small family of our own. I'll bring every happiness of the world at your feet. It's a promise, my love. And Captain John never breaks his promise. She broke down completely and let herself fall into his arms. He held on to her like he always did, kissed her tears away, though his own threatened to spill. She sat on the floor in front of a small rectangular table. It was filled with different kinds of dishes that were now turning cold. It was one of the days when her heart felt heavier than usual. The sadness emanated so deep that it physically pained her. Their wedding anniversary. It was her seventh wedding anniversary in a row when she sat alone on the table, hoping, wishing, praying he would walk through the door and collect her in his arms. She spent the entire day sitting by the door, staring at the street. Every time someone appeared in the street, her heart jumped in happiness, but saddened the next moment, realizing it wasn't him. The time ticked by, but the food remained untouched. She kept staring at the front door. And then it happened. A knock came from the door. It was so faint that she almost missed it. Then it came again, louder this time. She jumped to her feet and rushed towards the door, her heart racing wildly in her chest. It was him. It had to be him because she refused to accept otherwise. Her hands trembled as they reached towards the doorknob. With her heart beating in her mouth, she slowly opened the door. She gasped loudly in shock. Her hand flew to her mouth. She couldn't believe her eyes. At the doorway stood Jungkook. He came back. He came back to her after a whole 7 years. She took a step back as he stepped inside. He was wearing a worn out, dirty uniform. His shoes were drenched in mud. His face also had stains of mud. He had changed a lot. He was a lot more muscular than she last seen him, slightly taller and more mature. Aren't you gonna say something? She gasped loudly. She was hearing his voice after a whole 7 years. It was as soft and honey-like as before. You are really here? She whispered, gaping at him like she couldn't trust her consciousness. Yes, my darling, I came back. Didn't I promise you? Oh, yes, you did. You came. She fumbled, a pressure brewing behind her eyes. But she refused to cry. He had come back after 7 years. She didn't want to make him worried. You are back. You came back. They said you left. They don't know where you are, but you are back. Her trembling hands lifted to his face. She gasped in shock when her warm hands made contact with his cold skin. He was real. It wasn't a dream. Jungkook, my Jungkook, she whispered, her chin quivering with the rush of emotions. Yes, my darling, your Jungkook. She threw herself in his arms and burst into tears. The years of wait, years of yearning, years of longing came crashing down on her. Oh, the fragile heart of a lover. She didn't shed a tear when people considered him dead, but broke down immediately just by the sight at him. You took so long, Jungkook. I've missed you. I've missed you so much. She buried her face on his chest, her shoulders shaking with every painful sob that dragged through her heart. He wrapped his arms tightly around her and nuzzled his face in her hair, the familiar scent instantly calming his nerves. I'm sorry, my darling. I'm so sorry. She pulled back slightly to look at his face as if she still couldn't believe he was standing before her. Her eyes caught the small cuts on his face. Concerned, she stepped back and looked at him. That was when she noticed the blood on his cloth. Are you hurt, Jungkook? You need treatment. Let's go and see a physician. She grabbed his hand, but he didn't move from his place. What I need is you, my love. She smiled through her tears and stepped closer to him. I'm here with you, always. He smiled sadly. There was something in his eyes, a quiet ache which she didn't notice. I haven't eaten in days. I'm famished. Her heart clenched at the thought. How much had he suffered in those 7 years? Sure, I cooked your favorite tonight. Why don't you freshen up while I heat the food for you? He nodded, but when he turned to go to the bedroom, she grabbed his hand. He looked at her, shaking her head. No, stay with me while I heat the food for you. She was scared, scared that he would disappear again if she let him go out of her sight. He stayed by her side as she heated the food and placed the dishes back on the table. He stared at the food and back at her as she sat beside him. Eat up. I cooked everything for you. Could you please feed me? She picked up the chopsticks without a second thought. He stared at her when she fed him. Bite after bite, he ate everything she offered him. Forgive me, my love. It's our anniversary and I came empty handed. She shook her head, cupping his cheeks and looking at him with all the love she carried for him. You came. That's more than enough. I don't need anything else. His lips twisted slightly, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. There was sadness in his eyes, unrelenting, devastating sadness that was eating him from inside. That night she held him close in her arms, like he once wished to be held in his letter. He laid his head on her chest, eyes staring blankly in the void. My love, she hummed, threading her fingers through his hair. When I'm gone, take care of yourself. Her hand paused in his hair, a note twisting deep into her heart. Where are you going? You just came back. I'm not letting you go this time. She received no response. When she looked down, his eyes were closed. She smiled, tightening her grip around him. Rest well, my love. I'll hold you all night. I'll keep you warm. The next morning, when she opened her eyes, he was gone. The bed was empty and cold as if he would never lay there. Jungkook, she called out, but there was no response. Kicking off the blanket, she went out to look for him. She looked for him everywhere, in the kitchen, in the restroom, in the backyard, but he was nowhere to be found. There was not a single trace of him, as if he never returned. But he came. I fed him with my own hands. I held on to him all night. I know he came. But the empty house told a different story. She dropped to her knees, clutching her heart. Something was not right. But then a knock came from the door. She jolted up to her feet. In a quick motion, and hope rising again. Jungkook, where did you? She paused when she realized it wasn't Jungkook. Three soldiers stood at the doorway. She frowned in confusion. Why did they come? Did they come to take him again? Was that why he was hiding? Her heart sank at the thought. She stepped out and closed the door behind. That was when she noticed the crowd of villagers surrounding her house. Why did they look at her like that? With pity. She turned to one of the soldiers. Why did you? Her words died in her throat when her eyes fell on the coffin in the porch. Captain John was sent on a secret mission 7 years ago. Only a few people knew about it. The mission was successful. After 7 years, he was finally returning home last night. Her hands clenched at her sides, eyes fixated on the coffin. The enemies somehow got to know about it. They attacked him last night. He managed to take half of them down, but she swallowed. No, this wasn't what she was thinking. Her husband came home last night. How could he be fighting the enemies when he was with her? Or maybe he wasn't with her. Captain John lost his life for the country. His sacrifice will always be remembered. She let out a shaky exhale, her strength draining completely. She shook her head, refusing to accept that he was no more. But how could that be possible? He was with. She halted when she saw him behind the crowd of the villagers. Unlike last night, he was dressed in a clean military uniform, a big smile on his lips. He resembled the Jungkook who left 7 years ago on this very day with a promise he would return. And he returned on the same day 7 years later. but in a coffin. Her vision blurred with tears when he waved at her from a distance, and then, with a blow of wind, he disappeared. She walked towards the coffin and dropped to her knees. She ran a hand on the metal as if gazing him through it. Madam, we need to arrange a funeral. Her hand paused midway. Funeral? Yes, she needed to bid goodbye to him. How would he leave without a farewell? Can I see him? The soldiers looked down and slowly shook their heads. It's mere flesh and bones, whatever we could collect. She swallowed the bile rising to her throat. He suffered a lot. Now it was time to put him at peace. Just give me a moment. Saying so, she ran back inside and returned with a blanket a few moments later. With utter gentleness, she draped the blanket on his coffin. Dipping his head, she pressed a kiss on it. Rest well, my love. I wouldn't be there to hold you, but until I come, this blanket would keep you warm. After bidding him goodbye, she returned to an empty house. The silence was deafening, and the grief weighing her heart was equally devastating. She didn't cry. Her tears refused to come because the one who wiped them off was gone. Gone somewhere he could never return from. Her eyes fell on the box the soldiers left in the morning, the box of Jungkook's things, probably the last memories. She crouched on the floor and opened the box. The first thing she took out was a badge. Captain Jeon was written on it in bold letters. The next thing was his wallet. It was old, torn, and burnt from the edges. When she opened it, there was her picture inside. The next was his watch. The crystal lens was broken. The leather was chipped from the edges. The hands had stopped moving. Then came an envelope, a letter. She took it out. It was dated 6 years back, 1 year after he left. My darling wife, I hope this letter finds you in good health. It has been so long since I last wrote to you. You might be upset with me. You have every right to be. I can't explain everything, my love, but I can only tell you that I am among very, very dangerous people, living a life as one of them. I know you might think of me as your strong man, but I want to be honest with you. I'm scared. I'm not scared of these people or that death awaiting me. I'm scared that while fulfilling my duties as a captain, I might fail to fulfill my duties as your husband. And this fear, my darling, doesn't let me sleep at night. This is the third day that I am awake with my thoughts. I somehow managed to find a paper and ink pot and decided to write to you. But I don't know how I would manage to send this letter to you, or would it even reach you? Would this letter be my memory of the hard time or the last letter I would ever write to you? I'm afraid, my dear, that this time I'll not be able to keep my promise. That Captain Jeon would break his promise. You didn't. You didn't break your promise, Jungkook. You came back home, she whispered through her tears. The days, the moments. Had I known this would happen, I would have cherished them a little longer. If there exists a next life, then let's meet again. Let's fall in love again. Let's get married again. And maybe, just maybe, destiny won't be cruel to us. Under the lonely moon, I'll see you again. And I look into your eyes and say, I missed you. That's a promise, my darling. And Captain Jeon never breaks his promise.